Vande Mataram, welcome Bharat. Today we have with us an eminent, well-renowned senior counsel, Shri Ram Apte sir. Any junior who approaches him is available to help out the junior and has been a big voice at bar. Apte sir will be speaking today on Articles 226 and 227 and interrelation. And I now request Apte sir to take over and deliver us the knowledge. Please.
Namaskar. Good evening, Shubhrajani. It's a good initiative by this group and has invited large number of Siddharth. I really congratulate Siddharth Murarka for this initiative. Today the subject assigned to me is Article 226 and 227, Comparative Study and Interrelation. I shall endeavor to delve into these finer aspects of Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India during my lecture. Some relevant aspects of writ jurisdiction. Now, some background is necessary. Of course, I will not give detailed background because the subject today is not writ under 226. Subject today is interrelation between 226 and 227, and in a way a comparative study between Article 226 and 227. Now, you are aware that the Constitution was framed on 26 Jan and brought into force on 26 January 1950. Bharat was not a new country, was not a new country born in 1950. We had a culture of thousands, at least few thousand years, a tradition of few thousand years. And in spite of being divided into several kingdoms, Bharat was always one. Bharat was always one country with same tradition, same culture, and same history. We had our own administrative system. We had our own educational system. We had our own judicial systems. The systems were working well, substantially well, over all this period of at least 2,000 years. In the known history, we have the example of Chandragupta and Kautilya. Kautilya wrote his Kautilya Arthashastra, a treatise on how to govern, how to rule a country, how to govern a country, how to administer a country. Then came the British rule. British ruled us for around 150 years. The tragedy is that they continue to rule us through their systems, educational system and judicial system, law-making system. British rulers made us forget our history, forget our traditions, forget our culture, and catapulted us into an alien territory of, in our case, a justice delivery system. The system which suited best to the British rulers. They adopted that system, they applied that system, and we unfortunately adapted the same system under our constitution. It was earlier under the Government of India Act 1935 and carried forward in our constitution. The background was necessary because our present day justice delivery system is almost substantially borrowed from British system. As I refer to Government of India Act 1935, we therefore have to trace the origin of our writ jurisdiction today into British legal history, British judicial history. So the origin of writ jurisdiction, especially of 226, writ jurisdiction under Article 226, will have to be traced back to the English courts which used this prerogative writs, King's benches which used these prerogative writs to issue various directions, mandatory, prohibitory, and various concepts of writs were developed during this British era. Under Article 226, we in fact specifically refer to some of these writs. power conferred, power of issuing writs is conferred on Supreme Court under Article 32 and on all high courts under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Now you are aware that we have adopted the principle of separation of power. Separation of power is of two types. One, separation on the basis of subject matter. That is, separation amongst legislative power, executive power, and judicial power. So we have these three organs under our constitution: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Now, as I said, second was on the basis of territory. The legislative power, executive power, and judicial power, they are divided amongst these three subject matters, and similarly they are divided into, or on territorial basis, into union and states. So we have union legislature, union executive, and union judiciary. Similarly, where we have state legislature, state executive, and state judiciary. Now, turning to our today's issue, which refers to Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Chapter 5 of the Constitution of India refers to these articles. In fact, Chapter 5 of the Constitution of India deals with high courts in the states. As I said, we have a judicial system based on the territorial jurisdiction. So we have high courts in the states, and the high courts are established under Chapter 5, or rather, sorry, the high courts were established by latest patents. Initially, high courts were established in these three presidency towns: Mumbai, Madras, and Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta, as they were then known. Same high courts, with same powers, continued even after the constitution being brought into force. So this Chapter 5, which deals with the high courts in states, consists of articles 214 to 231. Of course, we are not concerned with other articles at this juncture. We are concerned with two articles, Article 226 and 227. I would just make a reference to an earlier article, that is Article 225 of the Constitution of India, which article specifically provided that the powers and functions of the high courts, which were functioning as on the date of coming into force of the Constitution, their powers remain the same as they were before coming into force of the Constitution. As I said, high courts were established much before the Constitution was enacted, and they were functioning as per the judicial system implemented or adopted or applied by the British rulers to India, to our country, India. Now, let us go to our basic two articles, Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Let us analyze these articles. Let us see what are the ingredients of these articles. Let us break them up so that it will be easier to understand and appreciate the concepts under Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Now, Article 226 is power of High Court to issue writs. Now, it is needless to say that the power of High Court is exercised or can be exercised within the territory of the state, within the territory of which the High Court is. In our particular case, it will apply to Maharashtra. Power of Mumbai High Court to issue writs under Article 226 would apply to the state of Maharashtra and within the territorial limits of the state of Maharashtra. So after considering this aspect of territorial limitations or limits, let us see what the article provides or empowers the High Court to do. Now, it's a very potent and effective weapon in the hands of High Courts. Article 226 is a very potent and effective weapon in the hands of High Courts. Article 226 begins with the words notwithstanding anything contained in Article 32, because Article 32 is a part of fundamental right which permits or applies or allows a person, a citizen, to approach the Supreme Court directly for vindicating his rights if any fundamental rights are violated. So similar powers can be exercised by the Supreme Court. The territorial of jurisdiction of Supreme Court is of course the whole country. Therefore, notwithstanding anything contained in Article 32, it goes on to say, every High Court have power to issue writs throughout the territory to which it applies, power to issue various writs. Writs, in amongst others, of course, writ in the nature of habeas corpus, certiorari, mandamus, prohibition, and quo warranto. So these writs can be issued by the High Court in exercise of jurisdiction under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Now such writs can be issued. Now first, power to issue writs. Two, against whom it can be issued. So such writs can be issued against any person or authority, including government. Three, the writs can be issued for the purpose of enforcing fundamental right or any other right. So there is a difference between Article 32 and 226. Article 32 is available only in cases of violation of fundamental rights, whereas power under Article 226 is available against violation of any other right as well. So in that sense, the power of power under 226 is larger than power under 32. In the sense that 226 can apply or can be used even in cases with respect to other rights which are not fundamental rights. Then the latter part is, if an interim relief is granted, you can apply for vacating the interim relief, etc. We need not go into that aspect at this juncture. That's a procedural aspect in a way. Then the second part is, article is Article 227 of the Constitution of India. Now, Article 227 follows Article 226. What is Article 227? Article 227 deals with or talks about power of superintendence. Power of superintendence over courts and tribunals within the territory of the High Court. That is, in the present case, in case of Mumbai High Court, it will be within the territory of the Maharashtra state. So, all courts and tribunals in Maharashtra state are under the supervisory authority and supervisory jurisdiction of the Honorable High Court. Now, as far as Article 226 is concerned, Article 226, a person can apply for a writ under Article 226 in case a cause of action has arisen within the territorial limits of the Honorable High Court. Of course, now there is a restriction of approaching the High Court considering various benches, 4 benches as we have, Mumbai, Nagpur, Aurangabad and Goa. Considering the territorial limits which are fixed administratively, a person can approach the concerned High Court if the cause of action has arisen within those particular limits and file a petition under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Now, there are disputes in cases of orders passed by government authorities, but again, that is not the subject today as to where, as to in which court a writ would lie under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. But again, that's a debated subject. Let us not enter into that issue at this juncture. Next one is Article 227 of the Constitution of India. As I said, it talks of supervisory jurisdiction of the Honorable High Court. Now, what does it say? Article 227 is titled as Power of Superintendence over all courts by the High Court. That is the title of Article 227 of the Constitution of India. It simply specifies that every High Court shall have superintendence over all courts and tribunals throughout the territories in relation to which it exercises jurisdiction. So it simply says it has a power of superintendence over all courts and tribunals within the territorial jurisdiction of that particular High Court. Now, this is 227 clause 1. 227 clause 2 says that without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing provision, that is the provisions which follow, it specifically says that, then it says three things. One, High Court may call for returns from such courts, that is subordinate courts, courts which are subordinate to such High Court. It may issue general rules. High Court may issue general rules under Article 227 of the Constitution of India and prescribe forms for regulating the practice in those subordinate courts. We are not really very much concerned as far as the judicial exercise of power under Article 227 is concerned, as far as these aspects of this clause 2 is concerned. And thirdly, in clause 2 itself, it says it can prescribe forms in which books of entries, accounts shall be kept, etc., etc. So, Article 227(1) says it has a power of superintendence over all courts and tribunals. Article 227(1), as far as judicial exercise is concerned, empowers the High Court to call for records from the lower courts. On the administrative side, it can issue directions to the subordinate courts. It can issue directions regarding keeping accounts, etc., etc. It can also settle fees, or it has power under clause 3 to settle fees to be allowed to the sheriff and in various cases of the lower court proceedings. Then it further deals with the rules are to be placed table, the approval of governor has to be obtained. It is simple rule making power of High Court under Article 227. It has nothing to do really with exercise of judicial power by the Honorable High Court under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. 227(4) carves out one exception, that power under Article 227 will not apply in cases of armed forces tribunals. So armed forces tribunals are kept beyond the purview of superintendence of Honorable High Court under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. Now the word courts, the word tribunals are not defined in the Constitution. Courts, as we know in normal courts, in simple terms, courts established under the Civil Courts Act. Then we have a Small Causes Court under the Small Causes Court Act. We have City Civil Court under the City Civil Courts Act. As far as tribunals are concerned, a tribunal in simple terms can be said to be an adjudicating authority established under a statute exercising powers which are akin to powers of the court. It is vested with judicial powers, but judicial powers apart from the powers exercised by the court. So other than, in simple terms, it would mean it's an adjudicatory authority other than court vested with judicial powers of the state. So these are bodies, and we know there are several, tens of them, at least we can cite at least 20, 30, 40, 50 such tribunals. And Mumbai is such a place where we have tribunals of all these types. Tribunals in tax, tribunals in revenue, tribunals in tenancy, education, you name it and you have a tribunal for that particular subject. So power of superintendence becomes important with respect to courts as well as tribunals. Now let us go to our basic issue. What are the similarities and what are the differences between Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India? Now, as far as similarities are concerned, both are constitutional powers. Powers conferred under Constitution itself, both Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Article 227 is next door to Article 226. Both confer powers on High Court. Article 226 as well as 227 confers confer powers on High Courts to exercise jurisdiction. The nature of jurisdiction is different, but the similarity is High Court is empowered under both the articles under the Constitution to exercise powers. It being a constitutional power or it being a constitutional provision, it cannot be abrogated, cannot be limited, cannot be restricted by enacting a law, by a statute. And it is said that it cannot be done even by amending the Constitution, since it forms part of basic structure of the Constitution of India. Now, is there any conflict between these two articles, Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India? According to me, there is no such conflict. According to me, both these articles are supplementary to each other. Sometimes they may overlap, and we'll come to that aspect a little later. Sometimes they may overlap, but otherwise they are complementary to each other. Now, the nearest writ, as far as Article 227 is concerned, the nearest writ under Article 226 is writ of certiorari. Now, the exercise of power under writ of certiorari is almost similar like that of a power exercise under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. The distinction in cases of certiorari is almost obliterated between 226 and 227. Now you are aware of the prayers. For example, if you file a writ under Article 226 seeking a writ of certiorari, your prayer normally is, the petitioner therefore prays for a writ of certiorari, writ in the nature of certiorari or any other appropriate direction or order, calling for the records and proceedings of judgment and order dated so and so, so and so, so and so, and after examining legality, validity and propriety thereof, quash and set aside that particular order. What is the prayer under Article 227? Prayer under Article 227 also is the same, except for the words for a writ of certiorari. So your prayer clause under writ under Article 227 would begin with words, the petitioner therefore prays to call for record and proceedings of. Everything else follows is the same as is the prayer under Article 226 with respect to certiorari. Therefore, I said the line, there is a very thin line between 226 and 227, especially with respect to exercise of power for issuance of writ of certiorari is concerned. Then what is the difference? Are there any differences? Yes, there are very many differences between Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Now, firstly, we begin with approaching the court. As far as seeking writ under Article 226 is concerned, writ under 226 can be sought by a person, by an individual, by any legal person also at that. But what is important to note, a writ of 226 can be issued only if it is sought by a person or petitioner. In other words, we will use the word petitioner. Whereas power under Article 227 can be used suo motu as well. So a High Court under Article 227 can exercise suo motu power and can pass orders. Under Article 226, theoretically, the court must stop at quashing the order which is challenged by the petitioner. It cannot do anything more under Article 226. But under Article 227, it can quash the order and also pass an appropriate order which the trial court ought to have passed. So, Article 227, exercising supervisory jurisdiction, it can correct the lower court also. In other words, it can quash the order and pass an appropriate order as well, which ought to have been passed. Now, therefore, we must keep one thing in mind, that both articles, powers under both articles are different, distinct and independent of each other. Power under 226 essentially is original exercise of jurisdiction, or rather exercise of original jurisdiction, whereas power under Article 227 is concerned is supervisory. It is almost akin to revisional jurisdiction, or in some cases appellate jurisdiction, appellate or revisional jurisdiction which a court can exercise. Now, if we go to the points of differences, firstly, the purpose for which the articles are enacted are different. The sources are different. The models from which these articles were framed in our constitution, they are different. Therefore, right from beginning, right from its origin, they differ. You are aware that we have borrowed from several constitutions forming part of our constitution. Therefore, I am saying that the sources are different, the origins are different, the base models are different. Secondly, if we read the provisions clearly differ. One, as I said, empowers the High Court to issue various writs, orders or directions against government in case of violation of fundamental rights or any other rights. The powers under 226 and 227 are totally distinct and different powers to be exercised for different purposes in different manner and in different circumstances. Now, if we go further, we will find that as far as Article 226 is concerned, it can be used for violation of fundamental right or any other right. But as far as Article 227 is concerned, it being exercising supervisory jurisdiction, it acts and is supposed to act as custodian of justice within its territories. So such errors which possibly under 226 cannot be corrected, can be corrected by the High Court under Article 227, because while exercising power under Article 227, it is acting like a custodian. It is acting like a superintending authority over the lower courts and tribunals, and therefore it can issue appropriate directions in addition to quashing the order which is challenged before the Honorable High Court under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. Now, if we read these provisions, and which we just now have tried to decipher them, Article 226 and 227, we find that we find only judicial power under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Article 226 confers only a judicial power to pass judicial orders on being approached by an aggrieved person or aggrieved individual or aggrieved body. As far as 227 is concerned, it exercises both judicial as well as administrative powers. We have seen the article also, and even otherwise, High Court under Article 227 exercises both judicial as well as administrative powers, and that is how it differs from Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Now, Article 227 can be applied if subordinate courts and tribunals, or rather can be applied to see to it that the courts and tribunals do not exceed their jurisdiction. They say that Article 227 can be used, or the power under Article 227 can be exercised by the High Court to keep the courts and tribunals within their bounds, within their jurisdiction, within their area of operation. Area of operation both with respect to actual territorial area, as also the subject matter, as also the rules, regulations, and the manner in which they function. Now, at least in some cases, Article 226, power under Article 226 can be invoked, and relief can be claimed almost as of right if you find that fundamental rights guaranteed under Constitution are violated, and you have brought such violation before the Honorable High Court by filing a petition under Article 226, where with almost certainty you can say, or you can claim the relief almost as of right. Of course, we are not going into various self-imposed restrictions by the Honorable High Court while exercising jurisdiction under Article 226, because our subject today is not Article 226. Now, we have also seen both the articles, and we will have to find out what is the relationship described in those two articles. Now, Article 226 empowers the High Court to issue writs against authorities, persons, government in case of violation of fundamental right or any other right. As far as Article 227 is concerned, it can issue various directions to subordinate courts and tribunals. In that sense, or that way, they are closer. Article 227 is closer to subordinate courts and tribunals, and it can control in exercise of power under Article. Its control under Article 227 is tighter and stronger than Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Because again, to repeat, what it does is it acts as a custodian. It acts as a superior authority, a superintending authority, which keeps the subordinate authorities, that is in our case, subordinate courts and tribunals, within their bounds. Now, in this view of the matter, the exercise of jurisdiction under Article 226 to 227 is almost discretionary. Now, the method of approaching courts under Article 226 and under Article 227 is different. If you see the petitions under Article 226 and 227, you will find that the drafting is fundamentally different. 226 being exercise of original jurisdiction, and 227 being almost in the nature of appellate or revisional jurisdiction. A court under Article 226 won't act unless a breach of fundamental right or any other right is proved. It owes a duty to the party. The court under Article 226 owes a duty to the party. Now, as far as 227 is concerned, the court discharges its own obligation. What is the obligation? Obligation to keep the other lower or subordinate courts and tribunals within their bounds. Obligation to act as a custodian of justice within the territory within which the High Court exercises jurisdiction. So, in case of 226, court owes duty to the party, whereas under Article 227, the court owes duty to itself, because it is acting in the capacity of exercise of superintending power over subordinate courts and judiciary. Now, as far as writs are concerned, the nearest writ, as I said some time back, is writ of certiorari. We have already seen the similarity and difference between writ of certiorari exercise or between applying for writ of certiorari, granting a relief under Article 226 by issuing writ of certiorari, or granting a relief in a petition under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. There were disputes whether a tribunal or a court is required to be party in such petitions. Now, according to me, the latest position is the courts and tribunals are not required to be joined as parties to the petitions. All this controversy really arose because there were intra-court appeal provided. There was an intra-court appeal which we used to call latest patent appeal, was provided under the latest clause 15 of the latest patents, under which the High Court, Bombay High Court was established. Now, the whole controversy, the whole dispute, plethora of judgments, hours and hours spent to decide whether the power is exercised under 226 or 227, whether the petition is under 226 and 227, whether a petition can lie under Article 226 or 227. All that problem arose because of an LPA which was maintainable before a division bench against the decision of a learned single judge. Now, why all this discussion? Why all this, as I said, repeated arguments before the courts in several matters? For the simple reason that LPA, that is a further appeal, intra-court appeal, lies only or used to lie only against decision under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. And a decision by a single judge under 227 was not amenable to appellate jurisdiction under the latest patents. So it became all the more important, relevant and necessary to find out at the relevant time whether a writ under Article 226 can be sought, whether a writ can be sought both under 226 and 227. If a writ is sought under both, whether the learned judge, single judge has exercised power under Article 226 and 227. All these issues used to become important, because if a petitioner can argue or a party can argue that a writ was issued under Article 226, LPA would lie. If the order is issued under 227, no LPA would lie. So really, that was the issue, that was the problem, and that's why there was such a huge discussion on exercise of power, similarity, etc. between Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. As far as Article 226 is concerned, we find in many cases, in cases of many high courts, they have elaborate rules for issuing various types of writs. But as far as Article 227 is concerned, we find no rules are framed. The whole object or idea appears to be to give flexibility and elasticity to High Court to exercise power under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. Such elasticity and flexibility was needed since it was exercising power of superintendents over subordinate courts and judiciary. The exercise of power under Article 227, as I said, is almost discretionary. So when we use these words many times use these words in the courts. If the conscience of the court is shocked, if there is a danger to administration of justice or judicial structure is imperiled, in such cases, High Court is supposed to exercise power under Article 227 of the Constitution of India. If not exercising power under Article 227, although invoked, would lead to failure of justice, or would, in a case where writ under Article 227 is sought, High Court, if failed to pass an order, will not be acting as custodian of justice over the subordinate courts and tribunals. Now, let us have a quick look at some judgments, some relevant judgments on the point, and then I will close my discussion. Now, just refer to few judgments. Now, as I said, because of this latest patent appeals, applicability of latest patent, and I must have informed you that the latest patents are now abolished. Therefore, courts will not spend hours and hours now to find out whether the petition was under 226 or 227, whether the power is exercised under 226 or 227 or not. Now, there was an old judgment of 1961, which is in the case of Naresh Miraskar versus State of Maharashtra, AIR 67, AIR 67, Supreme Court, page 1. In that judgment, which is a 9-judge bench judgment, it is specifically held. I'm sorry, before starting this discussion, let me point out, all these judgments were on the point whether a writ of certiorari or a writ under Article 226 can be issued against a judicial order of a court, of a civil court. Can be issued, whether a writ can be issued, writ under 226 can be issued against judicial order of civil court. Now, this 9-judge bench, as far back as in 1967, AIR 67, page 1, held that a writ of certiorari or any other writ under Article 226 cannot and does not lie against orders passed by civil court, against, of course, judicial orders passed by civil courts. Now, some time back, Supreme Court, in case of Suryadev Rai versus Ramchandra Rai, took a different view and held that a writ under Article 226 can be issued against a judicial order of a civil court. That was issued, that was referred to larger bench because there was a clear conflict, and in fact, it ought to have followed Miraskar's judgment of 9-judge bench. It did not, it really considered that, but came to a different conclusion that was placed before a larger bench, and that larger bench overruled this Suryadev Rai judgment. Suryadev Rai judgment, which held that a writ of certiorari would lie against order, a judicial order of a civil court. So today, according to me, the law is clear. Judicial orders of civil court are not amenable to writ jurisdiction under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. The underlying principle appears to be that a judicial order cannot be said to violate fundamental rights guaranteed under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. Now, there is if I mistake not, 5-judge bench judgment of the Supreme Court, 1986 supplement Supreme Court cases, page 401, which is Umaji Meshram's case, Umaji Meshram versus Radhika Bai. It goes into great detail with respect to the different shades of power, exercise of power under Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. It comes to a conclusion that both powers 226 and 227 are having entirely different foundation, different source, different origin, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, they are not identical. And as I said, this judgment also became an important judgment because it laid down in which cases LPA would lie before a division bench against the decision of a learned single judge. Then the advocates used to file petitions both under Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Now, since both the articles are used, question arose as to whether in such cases it's an order passed under 226 or 227. If it's an order under 226 of the Constitution of India, latest patent appeal would lie against the judgment of a single judge. The Supreme Court held in more than one case. In Sushila Bai's case in 1993, it held that if parties approach the court both under Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India, then right of appeal should not be denied to a party and it should be considered to be a petition under Article 226 of the Constitution of India, so that an LPA would be maintainable against the decision of a learned single judge. Then there are few more judgments which I would refer to, and then I would close for the day. Now there is one more judgment, 2017 5 Supreme Court cases, page 533, which again deal with powers of High Court to issue writs under 226 and superintending power under Article 227 and the difference between these two. Then we have the judgment of in 2009 1 Supreme Court cases, page 8, which is MMTC versus CCT. There it is held that it is for the learned judge to consider whether he is exercising power under Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. And then the division bench would consider whether appeal would lie or not. Now we are aware that there is that the learned judges are not bound to specifically say whether they are exercising powers under 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Even in the Honorable Supreme Court, if there is as you know, if a matter is heard by a bench, then every judge can deliver his own judgment, and it is left to the advocates, to the high courts, to the lower courts to find out what was the ratio of decision of the Honorable Supreme Court. Then we have cases of TMA Pai judgment, TMA Pai judgment of 11 judges, which is required to be considered by a judgment of a bench of 5 judges and then 7 judges in the case of Islamic Foundation and in the case of P.A. Inamdar. So just to find out what is the law laid down by the judgment of Honorable High Court, Honorable Supreme Court in the decision of TMFI, which is delivered by 11 judges. Lastly and recently, in 2019, similar issue arose before the full bench of Honorable High Court, Honorable Mumbai High Court before its Nagpur bench, and it reiterated the same. The decision was on 21/11/2019. The full bench of Mumbai High Court, of course, following Miraskar's judgment and this Radhesham's judgment, which specifically held that under Article 226, including writ of certiorari, would not lie against judicial orders of lower courts. I must make one thing clear here. I must caution that this binding, or rather these decisions are only the judgments of Honorable High Court and Honorable Supreme Court and full bench of the Honorable High Court is only with respect to judicial orders of subordinate courts. You are aware that administrative orders of courts can be challenged, and administrative, for example, a disciplinary action against, say, a judge, honorable judge of a lower court. Such a disciplinary action of action taken even by the High Court can be challenged before High Court itself by filing on the judicial side by filing petition under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. So similarly, administrative decisions, etc., of civil courts can be challenged by filing a writ petition under Article 226 of the Constitution of India. My whole discussion, or the point which I wanted to arrive at, was that a judicial decision of a subordinate court, civil court, cannot be challenged by way of writ under Article 226 of the Constitution of India and cannot be quashed by issuing writ and writ of certiorari, or no mandamus, etc., can be issued in those cases. Of course, I am not going into the finer aspects in which case whether the court is a civil court, whether a court is a tribunal, because we have cases where civil court is conferred with jurisdiction under various different enactments, and in such cases, possibly we can argue that in those cases where the power is exercised not as a civil but as a special court established under or conferred power by a special statute on the civil court, then possibly it doesn't act as a civil court. In my respectful submission, it acts as a tribunal because it is not exercising power of a regular civil court. But as I said, since now the LPAs are abolished, this distinction really becomes theoretical. But this is only to point out that the judgments which I referred to were only with respect to judicial orders of subordinate civil courts. I think this is what I could get, and this is what I can place before you as far as Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India are concerned. There are similarities, there are differences, and interrelation between both Article 226 and 227 of the Constitution of India. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the entire update of the knowledge of law. We are extremely grateful to you for having taken so much pain to explain us the theory of law. We shall always look forward to you to be giving us knowledge on some other topic at the earliest. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Namaskar.